Hey, welcome back, people. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Vinland Saga. Today we're gonna watch episode 22. I hope you're ready. We ended on quite the cliffhanger last time, so I'm really excited to get back into it. It is also 20,000 degrees outside today, so if I am kind of sweating visibly, that is why. Just so you know. But let's get this party started, okay? I'm not gonna let you wait. Let's get into this. Vinland Saga episode 22 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1, go. And we ended on Björn. And Asalat was in a really weird mood, so... The last moments. And he can't immediately finish the job. That is so sad. And he's gone. Oh, no, he's not. I'm messing with you. Thorfinn is not really feeling it. And OP. I think it's really cool that we use this line art that deviates from the actual form for multiple scenes now. We used it for the Asalat scene in the last episode, but we also used it for Canute when he had his moment where he shook off his cape and started walking his new path. I think it was the end of like episode 19? Oh, well, no, 18. All right. And Thorfinn decides to fight. Lone wolf, huh? Super interesting how Thorfinn has no insight into other people.
つまんねえこと言うなよ。こんな手だれ同士の決闘、そうそう拝めるもんじゃねえんだぜ。
では、そなたはどちらが強いと考える？
俺？そうね。アシェラッドかな。奴に銀1ポンド。
かけぬぞ。なぜそう思う？
なんとなく雰囲気。
トルフィンはそなたに勝ったのであろう。アシュラットはそれ以上か。
てめえ王子、なめてんな。3人の中でこの俺様が一番弱えとかありえねえだろうが。強えの弱えのってな、そんな単純なもんじゃねえのよ。
Is he a good matchup?
勝ったり負けたり、簡単に順序がつかねえのが面白いんだよ。
興味ない。
Oh, nice framing.
やっぱ女だろ。どうしたトロフィー？来いよ。 振りが強くなる前に終わらせて。しょうがねえな。俺、攻めやすくなったろ。来い、坊主。な？まだわかんねえのか。なんでこうなるのか。
Oh, Thorfinn.
さっきの訂正、勝負になってねえや、こりゃ。トルフィンのやつ、癖から何からアーシャラッドに見抜かれてら。この二人相当やってんな。決闘の理由は？
知らぬ。聞いていない。
たく。
They all don't even know the story.
トルケルに勝って調子に乗ったが。いい加減うんざりするぜ。
やめよ、そこまでだ。
片手でこの俺に勝てると思ったか。まったく今日はクソ気分のいい日だぜ。
やめろ。もうよせ。気絶している。そなたの勝ちだ。
ああ、本当に止めやがんの。
トルフィン、おいトルフィン。わかるか。決闘はもう終わったぞ。そなたの負けだ。よせ、もう終わりだ。てめえ！気を失ったのだ。すでにとどめを刺されている。右腕が治ってからまたやり直せ。
治っても同じですよ。怪我のせいじゃねえ。そのバカはバカだから負ける。
I gotta agree with him.
戦うようになってきちゃいるが、いっぺん頭に血が上ったら全部台無しだ。
Yeah.
首筋を狙ってるのが目線で丸分かりなんだよ。
He can't think straight when it's about Ocelot.
獲物振り回すのはバカの戦だ。まったくどいつもこいつも美しさのかけらもありゃしねえ。ビョルンの言う通りさ。俺は戦士ってのは大嫌いだ。ノルド戦士、バイキングは特にな。初めて殺した相手もノルド戦士だった。美しくない男だったぜ。俺の親父だ。小僧、工学のために教えてやろう。憎い相手の殺し方をな。
Probably involves detaching yourself a lot from that, right?
よいしょ。ガタ来てんな。後ろ気ぃつけ。俺は奴隷の母親から生まれた。
He's sharing. He's sharing with our group.
おふくろは病気で働くことができなかった。何で物心つく頃には 火事場や馬屋の下働きだった。体はいつも灰やすすや馬のクソやらで白かったり黒かったりでな。ついたあだ名がアシェラッド。灰まみれって意味だ。
That's where he got it from.
親父はユトランドの豪族だった。酒と女と殺しが好きな、まあどこにでもいるようなバイキングだ。俺みたいなガキをあちこちの女に産ませてたらしいが、
Nothing special.
なお本妻の産んだ年長の子供たちだけだった。それ以外のガキなんざ顔も覚えちゃいなかっただろうぜ。
Although he looks pretty a lot like Asalot, to be honest.
おふくろは若い頃、親父のお気に入りの奴隷だったそうだが、病を得てからは犬と同じ扱いだった。生きることが辛いのは俺にとっちゃ当たり前のことだったが、どうやらおふくろは違ったようだ。おふくろはよく先祖の英雄アルトリウスの話をした。同じ話を何度もした。500年前、蛮族の侵入からおふくろの故郷を守った将軍の伝説だ。おふくろは英雄復活の伝説を信じていた。自分を病や奴隷身分から解き放ってくれる者の再来をな。あんまり繰り返すもんだからよ、俺も信じるようになった。遥か西の彼方、常人にはたどり着くことのできない彼岸の地に、英雄アルトリウスの住む楽土があるという。平和と豊穣、不老不死が約束された理想郷だ。英雄はそこで今も戦の傷を癒しているらしい。いつの日か彼は万軍を従え来て蛮族どもを誅し、この世を平定してくださる。おふくろの一族はそれを待ち続けた。待ちに待って500年。
5 centuries.
英雄はまだ現れない。
Yeah. And this is where the dream dies, right?
だが考えてもみろよ。もし本当にご先祖様がそんないいところに暮らしてるならよ。
Would he even want to return?
帰ってくるわけやね。
Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't believe in the good in people.
そして俺が11の時、ついにおふくろの心が折れた。よりにもよってたまたま通りかかった親父のことを英雄アルトリウスと勘違いしたらしい。一瞬で悟った。今この時アルトリウスがおふくろを助けに来ないのなら、そんなものは永遠に来ないのだと。わかるか若造ども。誰かがやらねばならん。英雄でも神でもね、誰かがな。
Just a mortal, just a guy. Never used one before.
どう振ればいいのか分かっていた。 俺の体に目の前のクソ野郎の血が流れている証拠だと思った。情けねえ話さ。涙が出るぜ。
But he was emotional.
お前、その女の子か。わしの子か。
そうです。
見込みがある。
He saw the talent.
今日から館に進め。
さすがに11歳のガキにやれる相手とは思ってなかった。まずは親父の目に留まること。
So many parallels
成功だ。
to Thorfinn.
館では行儀よくしていたよ。武術や馬術の鍛錬を怠らなかった。腹違いの兄貴たちともうまくやってた。いつも親父を立てるように気を使ってね。奴隷暮らしから救ってくれた恩を決して忘れない忠実な息子だった。じきに周りも身内もすっかり俺を親父の子として受け入れるようになった。
Great transition.
この作業に2年をかけたぜ。
And he did it in his sleep, of course.
狙いは2つ。親父の油断と遺産の相続権だ。お前らにも見せてやりたかったよ。親父のあのなぜって面。使ったのは兄貴の剣だ。親父と仲の悪い奴から選んで盗んだ。他の兄貴たちは犯人と思い込んで、そいつをディンチにかけちまえんの。全く単純な奴らだぜ。バカで不潔で、てめえの欲望以外に何もねえクソどもさ。ああいう美しくねえ奴らがそこら中から湧いて出てきて幅を利かせやがる。いくらぶち殺してもキリがねえ。アルトリウスでもラグナロクでも最後の審判でも何でもいいからよ。マジに来るなら急いでもらいたいもんだぜ。まあそん時は俺も生きちゃいられねえだろうがな。あ、長くなったな。要するにだ、ドルフィン。10年以上かけて俺一人倒せないお前はボンクラだって話さ。
うるせえ。俺は何があってもてめえを殺す。絶対殺してや
る。たく言ってるそばからそれかよ。犬めてえに餌に釣られて駆け回りやがって。おめえの働きにはマジで頭が下がるよ。茶番みてえな決闘に付き合ってやるだけであのトルケルにまでホイホイ挑んでいくんだもんな。便利なガキだよお前は。まったくトールズにも感謝しねえとな。
Oh, he's getting him going.
待て。もうよせ。うるせえ。 今は傷を癒せ。
He can't do anything.
よさぬか。
Yeah. There's no strength left in him.
はあ、情けねえ。やれやれ。すっかり硬くなっちまったな、ビオラ。
なぜ私なのだ。英雄の末裔はそなたであろう、アシュラット。才気もある。己自身が王となり、世を変えようとは思わぬのか。
ご冗談でしょう。話聞いてなかったんですか？あなたの方が王にふさわしい。俺やスベン王よりもね。顔見りゃわかります。
Yeah. There's too much darkness in him, right?
俺はただのバイキングですよ。
He became what he hated. Because he had to, right? Because he had to survive, but he doesn't regard himself very well. And in that way, I guess he's almost maybe angry at Thorfinn for not dropping the act. This like sham of honor that he's keeping up. You're gonna make me drown. Alright, yeah, Thorfinn loses. We could have probably predicted that. But it is very interesting how he loses. We do have our typical pattern of, I guess, I mean, Thorkel is right? Like, just because you win against a dude who won against this other dude, or who could win against this other dude, doesn't mean you are stronger than this other dude, right? Like, there's every individual is different, and especially like the connection between Astolat and Thorfinn we see now is, I think, the main thing that is the problem when it comes to Thorfinn really trying to get his revenge, because it's hard. It's hard for him. I think one thing we can say is, one pattern we observe now is that Astolat realizes that it doesn't matter what he does if he like throws his sword away and handicaps himself. Thorfinn can't win because he knows Thorfinn in and out. And not only that, but we heard more of his story, and we can realize, like, we realized that before as well, but now even more strongly, the parallels between the two of them, right? This motive of revenge, but also what they did differently. Like, he himself chose to be the dishonorable guy, the dark guy, to feign this admiration towards his father, who he secretly wanted to kill, to have these feelings, to bury them deep inside and wait for his right opportunity to strike, right? Be socially accepted and not the person that you would immediately think killed him when it happens. throw the suspicion off and actually get away scot-free, and maybe even get that last final moment when his father opens his eyes shortly before he dies and sees, oh, it's my kid, right? And then like all these thoughts going through his head, like why did he do it, right? Like, because individuals like that, they oftentimes they don't realize what they did, right? Like they're cruel, they're terrible in their deeds, but oftentimes they just brush that away, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just like what Vikings do, right? When they conquer it, they take what they want. And I don't think there's this consciousness in there, this maybe even just like this empathy, that this ability to put yourself into the shoes of other people and be like, oh, I wonder what that kid feels towards me, right? And Thorfinn gets beaten and beaten again and again, and it's like his anger, his rage, this like him seeking that sweet moment of revenge and justice that he wants to find, and trying to set up the perfect moment, right, to beat Asalad in the perfect way, in a contest of skills, man to man, honorable duel. And that's the problem, because this is very hard to achieve. Obviously, there's moments where Asalad would maybe be hurt or something, and he could easily beat him in a duel, but Asalad wouldn't accept the duel, so it would be sneaky, it would be dishonorable if he just attacked him. For Thorfinn to be needing this kind of setup, this scenario in which like there are set rules to follow and etiquette to a degree, it gives Asalad the advantage, because Asalad, like, there's no etiquette against like riling your enemy up and getting them emotional and getting them distracted, and that's always what triggers Thorfinn, because there's so much emotion in there that hasn't been processed. And if you think about it, you're living together with the murderer of your father, right? Like the object of your trauma. There's a lot that you need to be blocking out. One thing I also find very interesting is Thorfinn. Thorfinn seems to be handling his emotions via like one primary emotion, which is rage and anger, right? Rage, anger, aggression. It's very interesting because even today in society, it is very common that men are on average more angry, even though there's other underlying emotions underneath there, which is because it is socially more accepted for men to be angry than for them to be sad and cry. And I think like same for girls, by the way, but the other way around. Girls cry a lot, but oftentimes there's a lot of like anger in there. There's a lot of frustration. That's the actual emotion behind it, but it is socially more accepted for girls to cry. So they cry. It's learned behavior, model learning in society that you learn very subtly growing up. It's not really taught. It's just like part of culture and society, and that's how we learn to express our emotions. I can very well see that there's a lot of not processed not processed sadness and despair in Thorfinn. But I don't think he can confront that, because it would destroy him. It would destroy his ego in that moment. It would destroy his entire being. And that would lead him to potentially do something that could be self-harming. I mean, he already does stuff that's kind of self-harming, with like putting himself into extreme risks. But also, he could potentially try to kill himself, right? Or just give up on life in general. So to hold on to that, hold on to his like self-confidence to a degree, to hold on to his sense of self, to hold on to all of these things, he has to push that sadness away. He has to push the despair that he might have been feeling away and replace it with another emotion to deflect that. And that is, in this case, anger, right? Even fear that a kid probably experiences in the face of such skilled warriors that are potentially oftentimes a threat to him, armed conflict, terrible sights. I think even that he pushes away because fear is associated with weakness, especially in these times, but even today. And he can't do that, like he can't show that, because it is crucial for his survival that he appears strong and resolute and angry, right? Like an animal trying to defend itself, make itself seem bigger and just right? Because then you're scary, you're unpredictable, and then other people maybe don't hurt you. Don't exploit your weaknesses, your little slips. You see that a lot in Thorfinn. He can't accept appearing weak in front of other people. You see that later on when Canute wants to help him up, and he's like, let it be, right? Like, and he's constantly pushing him away, right? Canute takes him, like, cares for him, right? He's like, come on, dude, let me carry you, let me help you up, and let me hold you back. It's fine. It's better that you stay back and you bide your time, whatever. But he's always like, don't be ridiculous, leave me alone, right? He's always like, right? Like a teenager shaking off his father that wants to hug him or something because it's embarrassing. This is a pride thing. This is a self-confidence thing. It's like when he allows himself to be helped by others, I think he would feel helpless. He would feel despair. And that is something he tries to avoid at any opportunity. But it's very interesting that we see this renewed in beautiful animation, by the way. This extended story of Asalat and how it turned out with his father. With his mother being sick and cast away, and him living a hard life and working hard. And always being told by his mother there's this Arthurian legend. Until at some point in time he realized that, well, like much like Canute in a couple of episodes ago, he has to do it himself. There's no savior that's gonna come like his mother believes. And that is also a way to kind of just like, right, live in denial of reality and be like, it's fine, there's gonna be a savior that comes one day. He will free our people, something like that, like mythology, holding on to almost religious or spiritual beliefs in that sense, or myths. And he's like, I needed to do something. I needed to become the myth. He would never come for us at all if he didn't come now. Well, and then I'm gonna be the one, right? I guess I'll have to take it up. Even at like where he's like the sad realization of having the same blood in my veins as this person brought tears to my eyes. So much parallels to Thorfinn, but so much difference as well. Asalat has way more emotional insight into himself. He has way more emotional insight into other people as well. That's why he can manipulate them as well. He's telling a story, right? A story of revenge that isn't very spectacular. But he managed to do it. Don't know what happened to his mother, he's not saying, but very interesting that he leaves that out. And that's how he sees the Vikings. Taking women, demons that take women and kill men. Ravage and rage and only listen to their own desires. And they kind of are, right? In many ways. Not in all of them, but in many ways. And he's played along for a long time to get to the point where he is. Very impressive how this whole speech is, or this whole story is being delivered on this snowy field in the morning. Like snow, like must be freezing cold, and the snowdrops are just falling from the sky. For everyone you killed to take his place. I don't care if it's Authorius or Ragnarok or Final Judgment. As long as it comes damn soon. He's like, there's gotta be an end to this shit. But he doesn't think he'll live to see it. Because he knows his time, like his days are numbered. But he also knows like, that flailing of Thorfinn trying to uphold this, like, pride, like his like self-image, being like, I swear I'm gonna kill you. But it sounds hollow, it sounds weak, it sounds desperate, it sounds sad. And I think Thorfinn realizes that on some level, but he can't accept it. Canute asks why it's him. And Asalad reveals what we've known for a long time. He doesn't regard himself as, like, a very great person. Like, he takes that up. He's like, for my revenge and for me to actually get what I want in the world, right? Create a world that I want to maybe leave. That I would have liked to live in. I had to become something that, or somebody who isn't worthy of living in it anymore, right? And also, like, at some point, right, once I reached my goal. And also, he realizes he wouldn't be a good king. He wouldn't be a good leader or ruler. There's too much cruelty in him, too much unscrupulousness, too much baggage. For Canute, there is baggage, but he has that enormous fountain of empathy that's in him, right? And the principles, and even the faith. It's like an old man looking back towards his nephews or his grandchildren and being like, I've lived my life, I've made my mistakes. There's a lot that I can't turn back, but you still have the glint of hope in you, the glint of potential. There's so much. That's why it needs to be you. And the feeling he has is like, well, I've just got a feeling that this kid might be it. He said that in the beginning too. And maybe it is Canute's unusualness, right? His antithesis to the stereotype or to the norm that makes him so interesting and gets or makes Asalad believe that he has the potential to create a different world. And great shot. At the end of it, we have Thorfinn looking at that sword that he's looked at a lot of times before, right? Even as a kid when he took it out of his father's chest. And it's looking at a broken man, kind of, right? Messed up, wild, hurting. And I guess the outside looks very much like the inside. You want to beat Asalad like that? It's not gonna happen. Thinking back on all these moments, right, where he gained the resolution, where he was strong, where he, right, this conversation with him. It's an interesting shot because what we see here is, I think his hair is shorter than it actually is, right? He's in the snowfield right now in the present, but it's as if he got replaced by his child self here. I mean, right? The hair is probably just as it is, but he looks so small. He looks so like his child self as he looks at the at the dark sky with the dawn just coming in, right? This image isn't hopeful, but it's not devastating or hopeless either. It's like there's a silver lining on the horizon. Just, I don't know if Thorfinn sees it yet. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And welcome back to these last 2 episodes of the first season of Vinland Saga. It has been a bit. I apologize as per usual, but I'm not gonna elaborate. I'm pretty busy these days. I try to record whenever I can, but obviously it's not always gonna work out. It's not always gonna be me being able to actually record or edit these in time. I do hope you're still with me on this journey. It's been a really great first season, a really long first season too, but I think it's not been long enough that I've forgotten most stuff. I really liked the last episode, I think. And what I want to do is really jump into this episode and see how we conclude the season, because that's going to be a very interesting starting point as well for the beginning of the next season, and so on and so forth. So let's get this party started. Obviously, we are going to react to the second season, by the way. There might be Frieren, the tail end of the second season of Frieren, and there might be some ReZero or some other stuff in between, but we're definitely gonna jump relatively quickly for my, relative to my upload schedule into the second season of Vinland Saga, because I can't wait to see what the series has to bring. So let's see if that changes with this finale. I don't think so. Alright, Vinland Saga. Episode 23 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1. Let's go. I will miss this OP because it's a really cool OP, I think. Especially in light of the Asalat thematic. I hope milet is gonna be ED artist for the second season as well, because that would be really cool. I don't know her connection to Vinland Saga actually, because I know she is really into Frieren, which is really cool to have somebody who is an artist put at the OPs and EDs for a series who's actually really into it. Also, I think second season will be Studio Mappa, right? Or Mappa. What is it with Mappa taking over WIT projects? Right. What a beautiful sunrise, right? Yeah, seems like a sunrise. Northumbria, York. Day of the Imperial Council. Just some wine, huh?
今日はこの家に族長が大勢集まるんだから。はあ、これみんな族長たちが食うんか。
This is gonna be interesting to see how the king handles this. Because, the ball is kind of in his court a little bit, right? At this point. Thorfinn is almost dying, meanwhile. They didn't even notice him, they were like... This kind of reminds me of The Witcher 3 with all of those, with the Skellige part. Shout out if you played The Witcher 3. So we are working with this. And we don't know him. Ashen lad.
諸公ご起立されよ。王陛下と王子殿下のご入室である。
Loki right to his side. The whispers are stopping. And now we have Canute coming in.
おお、ごちそうてんこ盛り。
Also this dude.
さて、まあ、御身の護衛に心配はありますまい。さすがにこの場で人情沙汰に及ぶバカはおらんでしょう。
Silence is palpable. They're not looking at one another either. Okay. Thorfinn is back. Ooh! There is the slave that we saw on the OP. Wonder if you play a role or if this is just like a moment for Thorfinn.
バカなガキだ。
He's already seeing ghosts. It's kind of sad because he's kind of caught in his own little cage, right? So who did you grip onto? Just a random guy.
じゃねえかよ。おい待てこら。きったねえ手で触りやがって。なんなんだこのガキよ。
無視してんじゃねえぞこの野郎。
おい、なんとか言えよ。おいおい。
なめてんのか？金払えおら。
Yeah, I thought so because like Asalat is a different story, yeah. Almost like nonchalant. But yeah, he can defend himself. I was wondering if he lost his will to fight completely, but... Oof. Okay, so now he's in the dungeon.
正式な処罰は追って沙汰する。たくこの忙しい問いに。いいんですか？聞くところでは殿下の護衛だとか。殿下は今御前会議に出席されておる。護衛が街中をうろついてるわけなかろう。
He kind of has. He's just like on instinct. He's defending himself when he's getting attacked. He doesn't like really have any fire burning right now. It's good though. He had too much fire so far.
積年の望みは叶い、ついにこの地イングランドは世の滑るところと相なった。この良き日は諸君らの奮戦あったればこそである。また古きともトルケルと我が息子クヌーとも神々の加護により我が元へと帰り来た。妨害の喜びである。よくぞ戻ったな、クヌート。父は嬉しいぞ。
The theatrics.
たには神領よりマーシアの統治を任せる。父と共にこの地を良き国にしようぞ。トルケルよ、息子を助けてやってくれ。世の願いじゃ。
よし。マーシア、イングランドで最も豊かな土地を。
噂はやはり噂に過ぎませんか。
いや、わからぬぞ。真実であればこそ、ああいうより他。
諸君らにも戦火に相応した褒美を授ける。次なる戦地アイルランドにおいても存分に振るわれよう。
Good luck with the Irish.
かつて不遜なる戦士ブライアン・ボルにより洗脳ハラルドが苦渋をなめさせられた因縁の地であり、
勝てる。
王の反応が俺の予測の域を出ていねえ。俺の作戦に対処しきれてねえ証拠だ。知恵くれむなら主導権を取れる。不老儀の旦那いい顔だな。あんたには悪いが今後は孫くじ引いてもらうぜ。この剣を仕切るのは俺だ。駒も揃ってる。
I'm not comfortable with him being so sure of himself because that is the very moment that you're normally not sure, right? Like the moment you're the surest of yourself, you're like, I'm in control of this. You're not in control. Like he's too, like narratively. Obviously, sometimes you just have the overview of everything, and I think Asalat is a very, very clever person, but it feels to me narratively like Asalat is like, yes, I've got this, and suddenly something will come our way that's gonna be throwing a wrench in his plans. Obviously something that he might be able to handle, but it's gonna cause him some difficulty.
俺ならやれる。しかしだ諸君、この地には未だ王に対する恐れを知らぬ無礼な者どもがおる。そのことも話しておかねばならぬ。世は奴らに心中を進める使者を使わしたにもかかわらず、連中は二度にわたって跳ねつけおった。そこに真領を脅かす目が育っておるなら、まず全力をもって摘み取らねばならぬ。ウェールズ、この地の者どもに真の王者の力がどれほどであるかを知らしめるのだ。
And there it is.
来たる春より進撃する。心得よ諸君。起きろ。聞こえんのか。起きろ。面会だ。
グヌートの手下か。追い返せ。は
あ、殿下のご使者のわけなかろう。ただの船乗りで。
There we go. Leif is back. I can understand though that like Leif is making him kind of mad in the soft-spoken way that he's talking to him like he's still a kid. And Thorfinn doesn't want to accept that, but he's kind of still a kid. On many levels.
知り合いの商人に聞いてな。慌てたぞ、トルフィン。
関係ねえだろ。
11年か。どれほど辛い思いをしてきたか。お前の言う通り、 わしにはわからん。
That's a good start. Actually, you know, sorry for stopping so often, but I want to discuss this. I think, how do you approach somebody after so many years? Somebody whose experience, whose personal experience might be so different from your own. And you can't read their thoughts. You can't just like understand what they've been through, how they see themselves. Do they see themselves as the victim? Sorry. Do they see themselves as the victim? Do they see themselves as the person who is still in control and trying to get revenge, right? Is there still a struggle for them? Do they see themselves as the oppressor, maybe? I think in Thorfinn's case that is actually the case, but I think even if somebody's been the victim of many deeds, they can, to maintain their self-image, maybe try to perpetrate, right? Kill, damage, punish, torment other people in order to try to maintain that level of control over their own life, that level of like control they have over other people, so they don't have to admit to themselves that other people, that their tormentors control them, right? The experiences, their dreadful events that happened in the past, their traumatic events, that they controlled them or controlled them or impacted them so heavily, made them weak, them lose sight of who they are. But how do you do that, right? How do you approach somebody whose experience you can't grasp immediately? We see that a lot when people come in and they're like having their own personal issues, and every issue is unique. Every person's life story is unique. So they come in and they tell you a little bit something about what they've been through. But can you really know what they've been through? Like, is it really authentic to approach them and be like, I know how that feels, if you haven't been through it yourself? Or to be like, I understand, if maybe intellectually you understand. But that doesn't mean you can follow the very experiences they've been through, the thoughts they had, right? So how do you do that? I think a good first step is to admit that you can't 100% empathize. A good first step is to approach them and be like, look, I can maybe, like from my own personal experience, try to guess what you've been through here and there. But I can't even remotely try to completely understand it. I've not been there. I'm not you. I don't know how it is, but I'm trying to understand as good as I can, so I can help you figure this out for yourself, process it, find a way to deal with it. I think that's a good olive branch. That's a good opener, because it's admitting that you are not the person who is like sitting on in your ivory tower and telling them what to do because you know all the answers. And it might be a little bit antithetical to people actually coming into psychotherapy or into other situations and expecting that, right? They come to you and they're like, well, now tell me how I can fix it. You're the expert. In this case, I think I can liken it a little bit to like, Leif is like the experienced adult, right? So the natural expectation in this situation, an expectation that Thorfinn will probably refute and deny and rebel against, because first of all, he's a teenager, and second of all the adverse experiences he's been through, is, well, you're the adult, you should know how it works and should be able to tell me how I get out of this and what to do. But neither his pride nor the pain deep inside him is allowing him to actually admit that. So he rejects that expectation he's probably going into the situation with. I mean, he's not actively going in the situation, but he is in the situation. So he expects something, right? Every situation brings an expectation with it. Some are stronger, some are weaker. But in the end, that might be what Thorfinn is expecting, but rejecting because he doesn't want anybody to tell him what to do because his feelings tell him something else. So he's like, nah, shut up, dude. Shut up, old man. You don't know how it is. And then Leif might be coming in only based on that one sentence I just saw, like I just read him say. He might come in and be like, you know, I don't really know. I can't really know how it is, what you've been through. But what comes after the but is also very important, so we'll see how he handles it. Let's continue.
あの男が生きている限り、心が安らぐことはない。
Okay. Yeah.
まだ十分じゃないというなら、きっとそうなのだろう。
That is big. Like looking over his own selfishness here. But then like, yeah.
昨日のように思い出すんじゃよ。
Share my perspective.
パチパチとはぜるいろり、うまそうな鍋の匂い、トールス、ヘルガ、ユルバ、そして幼いお前の笑顔をな。
Yeah, I think Thorfinn hates that person, that kid, because it's weak.
流氷に閉じ込められた話はしたな。食べ物はなくなり、船も潰れた。仲間6人はみんな死んだ。
Didn't he tell that story in the beginning? Like all the way at the start of the season?
それでも、わしはずっと氷の上を歩き続けた。
This is like Vinland as a metaphor.
なぜだかわかるか。どれほどすさんだ海であろうと、どれほど凍えた海だろうと。船乗りは海と戦っとるんだ。戦士と同じように。己の誇りをかけてな。トールズが死んだ時、お前がいなくなった時、わしは誇りにかけて誓った。
Oh, this is great.
だからトルフィン、これはお前の
I'm saying this for me, yeah.
わしのためだ。どうあってもお前を故郷のアイスランドへ連れて帰る。
This is not pity, this is my honor on the
わし
line.
のけじめだ。
My honor, my responsibility. Not pity on you. This is great. This might reach him.
エリークの子、イーバル殿、御前に進まれよ。戦功を評価し、陛下は貴殿に銀と領地を可視される。ありがたく受け取られよ。
そ知らぬ風に見えるがな。先ほど一瞬のことです。ウェールズと聞いて顔色を変えました。ウェールズにあやつめの弱みにつながる何かがあるやもしれません。ご留意くださいませ。
Loki being sharp.
そんなガツガツすんなよ。みっともねえ。豊穣の神に感謝の気持ちを表明してんだ。 それ以上でかくなるつもりかよ、まったく。くそ。なんなんだ。どういうことだ、スベモおめえ。俺とウェールズのつながりを知ってる？いや、そんなはずはねえ。
Maybe now he might know.
話したことはねえ。たとえ知っていたとしても、俺への嫌がらせのためだけに全軍を動員するなんてことはありえねえ。なら、やっぱり偶然か。いや、そんなことはどうでもいい。問題は、春にはウェールズが火の海になっちまってことだ。
So the time is short for your game.
考えろ。時間まで。春先までに何ができる？
And this might betray you.
いや、まともに使えるのはトルケルの兵500だけだ。まだまだ戦力差がありすぎる。将軍たちを引き込むにも根回しの時間が。イングランドの連中をまた焚きつくれってのはどうだ？ダメだ。結局はウェールズが主戦場になる。戦う方向で考えるな。それにどさくさに乗じて王の資格がクヌート殿下を狙いに来るかもしれん。
故郷。今さら。
He's like, not now. Don't weaken me like this. Don't raise these feelings.
海の向こう。
Vinland.
たわわに果実が実り、真っ青な草原が波打つ新天地。
These are deep ideas. Like, they're deep inside Thorfinn's mind.
トルフィン。ヴィンランドだ。国に戻って少し落ち着いたら一緒に彼の地を目指そう。なんで？お前も言っていたじゃないか。トールズも行きたがっていたと。
Fulfilling your father's
戦
dream.
いを逃れてアイスランドに来たんだ。生きていれば。トールズも彼の地を目指したに違いない。奴隷や戦もない。誰もが平和に暮らせる豊かで温かな地。そんな国を作ろう。
Isn't that kind of a little bit like...
フィンランドなら
But he's gonna shut him down here. Or not? Feels like he didn't quite reach him. Or maybe he did. Maybe I'm wrong.
そういや、ウェールズっていやさ、お前俺に追われてあそこに逃げ込んだじゃんよ。あれは一体どういうからくりだったんだ？なんでウェールズ人たちがデンジンのお前に味方したんだ
？Why are you sharp now, Thorkel?
プロの墓がある。あの地は俺の故郷。
Oh, he says it.
俺の国だ。土地は貧しくとも民は誇り高い。おふくろの愛した国だ。そうか。そいつはまあなんだな、お気の毒様だな。
Thorkel is such a like a nonchalant
この
dude.
話は誰にも言うんじゃねえぞ。分かってるよ。クヌート殿下の重視、ウォラフの子アシェラッド殿、御前に進まれよ。 たく。
The winds of change, huh? Things are continuously moving.
Oreってやつはどうしてこう土壇場の月がないのかね。
I mean, he's not wrong. But he has a defiant look, so... Alright, take me away, Valkyries. I will probably just continue, I think. We talked a lot about it. Maybe we'll get it shortly on the screen. You know, I think this episode was decently animated. I think the big moments for me really were the Thorfinn to Leif conversation, but we had that little moment before here with the silence was really palpable. We have like the tension in the air, and Asalad is like, I've got it all figured out, and then boom, right? What does he do about whales? What's the thing with whales? Is the king just greedy? Is he like, oh yeah, whales is gonna be next, we're gonna raise them to the ground, right? Because he didn't know that Asalad had a connection to them before Loki pointed out, ooh, Asalad reacted weirdly. So this must have been in his mind for other reasons as well. But obviously it did throw Asalad off his game. I think I haven't seen him like this, I think, ever. So he is on his back foot. He didn't expect this. But Asalad is really good at recovering from stuff like that. Yeah, like I said, Leif, I think it's very good that he like went on a level where he was like, look, I can maybe kind of see where you're coming from. As long as this guy's alive, you won't be able to rest, I understand that, but I think it's really good that he's putting it on himself, that he's like, this is not because I pity you, because then he's making, in Thorfinn's mind, he's making Thorfinn weak, right? Because it's like, oh, he pities me because I'm weak? No, go away. I'm not weak. You don't need to pity me. But the way he says it is like, look, you understand honor, Thorfinn. You've like, that's one of your key memories. It is upon my honor, I swore when Thor's died that I would bring you back. And that is my responsibility. And I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this for me. And I think that is something that Thorfinn will understand. And in the whole world that he's lived in the last 11 years, where people are doing things for very selfish reason, and most of the time for themselves, it's understandable. Also, though, I don't know if the Vinland thing landed with him. We're feeling the good vibes, we're feeling the music, the sun is coming in, right? Like it's warming the entire scene, and we have that swelling up music, and we understand that thing, right? About like being a warrior and fighting against the sea. And this idea that's deep inside Thorfinn as well, I think, this idea of exploring the world and finding something. But I don't know if he reaches all the way with his speech, because he's talking about peace and love. He's talking about a place where there's no war and people, right? Like people then can live peacefully. And I don't know if that's a world that Thorfinn can put himself into. And as such, I don't know if that is a world that Thorfinn wants or can achieve, because he can't imagine it. Go back like to the Frieren discussion about like magic being a world of imagination, and if you can't imagine something, you can't make it happen. I think it's the same for motivation, it's the same for emotional connection. If Thorfinn can't put himself into this mindset of what is a peaceful world gonna look like, I don't know if he connects to it. I mean, of course there can be a part of an deep inside, and that's why I think he didn't reach all the way. I think there's a part of him inside of Thorfinn that wants to connect with that, because there's a very hurt part inside of him that just wants to go back to a simpler time when things were easy, and that doesn't want war and destruction and murder and conflict. But that is buried over this like socialized idea of Valhalla that the Vikings had, that he even had in his village when he was still a child, right? Dreaming of battles and glory. And that is buried even further in like this self-protection of being this tough guy that doesn't mind killing, that doesn't mind being at war, that doesn't mind being this really ruthless person if he can reach his goal, because this is how he feels strong. This is how he feels in control of a situation. The problem is, of course, that whenever something like his like confrontations with Asalat happen, this takes him completely out of his own self-image, which is, I am strong, nobody can match up with me, I'm gonna have my revenge. There's this dichotomy, and suddenly he is this little, tiny, hurt little guy inside, and he can't deal with that. So he disassociates in those moments, I think. Like, I see strong signs of disassociation, even to the point of like hallucinating things, to the point of like just like not reacting to things. I think Leif almost reached him, because there's this part inside of him that wanted to connect to that story, to that wish of like a peaceful world. And this might be his way to redemption, his way to getting, like, processing his trauma. On the one hand, the speech of Leif. On the other hand, it's not like what I pointed out in the episode. It's not too different from what Canute actually wants. Canute is like, God doesn't want to give us this paradise. God makes us suffer. Then we're going to create our own paradise here on Earth, and I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to go over anybody, right? I'm going to step over 1 million dead people if I have to, in order to get this paradise for me and for us, for the people who follow me. And I think maybe, assuming Thorfinn sticks with Canute and Asalat, which I like, there's strong motivation to stay there. Like, Canute's dream and Leif's dream, they can kind of like slowly move towards one another. And when Thorfinn is ready, these will combine. And he might be a very, very strong ally of Canute out of a motivation of his own, other than just like sticking around in order to be able to kill Asalat eventually. I do hope that, at least. So it did connect. You see that in his eyes, it did connect. And it's very well done, right? The way we put the lighting down, and he's all the way in the dark, right? If you look at that. But the rays of light are slowly reaching towards him. That's hope reaching towards him. That's motivation. That's like warmth going in. But we're not quite there. Either way, interesting how Asalat shares. He's like, okay, you know what? I can't be all alone in this. I need an ally. And I think like it's not too bad to tell this to Thorkel, because I think Thorkel is a person who understands when he's on somebody's side to not tell his secrets. He's like very straightforward in a way. And he's not a schemer. So you can kind of trust him to be like, if you're like, don't tell this to anyone, he probably won't, unless he has a very, very strong motive to do so. And Thorkel is even like, well, that kind of sucks, dude. Sorry for your loss, right? Yeah. There's no malice in Thorkel. It's just like, yeah. And this, I don't know what they're doing. Like, maybe they're gonna try and put Asalat in charge of attacking whales, and gonna try to figure out, ooh, what is he gonna do when he's actually supposed to attack them? Can we kind of like find a weak point and kind of discredit him, or find a way to get rid of him? Or make him the bad guy for his own people, right? Kind of destroy him from the inside in terms of like his character. We'll see. Okay, final episode. Final episode time. we are getting ready. Oh, I'm so excited for season 2, actually. Alright, Vinland Saga. Season 1, episode 24 starts in 3, 2, 1, let's go. And we're still here. The pivotal moment.
さて、どうしたもんかな。俺の国をこのバカどもから守るには。王子殿下救出の功績により
Oh, he's getting rewarded.
50本が可視される。ありがたく受け取られよう。クヌートのためにそなたが奮戦したこと聞き及んでおる。礼を受け取れ。
With
ご褒美頂戴いたします。ウェールズの討伐戦においても活躍を期待しておるぞ。
step, step.
やっぱり気づいてやがるのか。タヌキじじいめ。
He didn't.
王陛下、恐れながら申し上げます。
Oh, he's gonna play it straight.
この度のウェールズ討伐、果たして最良の選択と申せます。
Okay. Instead of being like, oh, I'm not gonna show that there's anything about it, he's gonna be like, okay, he knows, so I'm gonna play with that. Clever. Right? I'm sorry, fun fact. Not to discredit therapists, but we do this. We do this because it's very effective. Right? You could call it manipulative behavior. I don't think it is. But if you're in therapy and you're talking to a client and you have your own experiences that you can draw on, either to empathize with somebody or to make a point, right? Speak from your own experience. Or to level the playing field. Find a way to establish a connection, because it is proven, scientifically proven through randomized control studies that, well, not randomized, but controlled studies. I think even randomized control studies, I'm sorry, right? I think even randomized control studies, that a big part of the effect of therapy is actually the relationship between the therapist and the client. That the relationship is doing like a boatload of work for the client actually to be active and motivated to change things and to process things and to work on things. So you need trust and you need a good relationship. So what do you do when you talk to a client? You open up. You don't open up, like you don't tell them your life story. But if there's key moments in which you can connect, in which there's like similar experiences, in which there's like moments of vulnerability that you had in your own life, things you struggled with, sharing them at specific moments to a specific degree creates a connection, because the client starts to trust you. The client starts to see you're not like this, it's like expert above everybody else. You're just a human being. And that is something that is very reassuring, because you see like therapists can empathize because they have had these experiences before. Therapists can empathize because they've been in your boat before, or maybe they're still in your boat, right? If we talk about like human biases, if we talk about specific human flaws, the way we kind of like are often, especially these days, too cognitive in our way of thinking and not in tune with our emotions. There's like pitfalls that even therapists are prone to, and to kind of level the playing field and show clients that, yeah, we are like this, and we are human, and we acknowledge that. We don't think we're above anybody, and we make the same mistakes. And just like you, we learn from them as well, and we don't learn from all of them. We have our flaws and all of that. Sharing these weaknesses creates a bond. It creates trust. It creates connection. And you could call that emotional manipulation. But is it really malicious if it's for the purpose of building a good connection, understanding each other better, and then going forward and fixing our problems? Because that's what we ultimately want to do. We want to heal. We want to help people deal with their own issues the best. the best they can, right? So this is how we do it. And I guess this is kind of how Asola did it right here as well. He was like, you know what? He already knows, so I'm not gonna pretend I'm like above that, right? I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't faze me. I'm leaking a part of my authentic self out strategically in order to take that and use it to my advantage.
来春のウェールズ討伐、我が軍にとって益の薄い戦かと存じます。どうかご再考を。
アシェラット、当面は摩擦を起こさぬと言ったはずだ。
The game changed.
面と向かって言おうとなえるとなかなかの胆力じゃないか。
すみませんな殿下。ウェールズばかりはちょいと譲れねえ。
考えを述べてみよ
う。ありがとうございます。まず我々は10年にわたりイングランド軍と戦ってまいりました。今は国土も人も存亡の回復に努めるべきかと。もう一つはウェールズの地の険しさとそれゆえの貧しさでございます。たかがウサギを追わんがために疲れた馬を鞭打ち県外に踏み込むがごとき行いです。一口に申し上げてウェールズ攻略は割に合いません。
I don't know if his...
確かによう言うてくれた。
ほんと口が回るな。
攻略ではない。そんなものどもを放置せぬことが肝要なのだ。勘違いするな。
さようのことがご懸念であるならば、私めを使者にお使わしください。必ずやウェールズの者どもを解き伏せてご覧に入れましょう。
この王に向かって三度の礼を尽くせと申すか。そなたの言うウサギを相手に。
三度なればこそ彼らにも王陛下の寛大なるお心が伝わりましょう。
Is this game gonna work out? I thought he was doing something slightly different, but I mean, even if he says no, then maybe there's less doubt in the king's mind. Okay, Thorkel.
This is the姿よ。王にとって還元に勝る宝はない。かように我が軍団には重要なるものが揃っておる。
もったいないお言葉で。つまらね
えの。Thorkel's like, let me get back to my food.
これからも力を貸してくれ。
Yeah, there's something he's got in mind.
ウェールズかクヌートか選べ。本心、世はウェールズなどどうでもよいのだ。クヌートの首を見上げに。
Okay.
さればウェールズは見逃してやろう。そなたのことは少し調べた。
Oh, he does know.
親は奴隷だそうだな。ウェールズに固執する理由も察しがつく。かの地の産物といえば奴隷ぐらいのものだからな。
Asolat is being tried and tested here.
お前がずーっと乗りたがってた船だ。ようやく乗せてやれるな。
What's going on? Thorfinn, share something.
休んでいてくれ。
もペコペコだろ。待っとれ。
I don't think he's coming. I don't think he's coming.
トルフィン、どうだトルフィン。
This is cruel to Lev. Not gonna lie.
トルフィン。
Yeah, he didn't reach him completely. There's something he realized. Was it something like relating to freedom?
嫌な面だな。こんな面の上に王冠が乗ってるなんてのはやっぱり許せんな。
Ooh, he's going full confrontation.
そなた、今なんと。
耳も遠いのかこのジジイは。ブサイクが光も乗っけてんじゃねえっつってんだよ。王者の面じゃねえぜ。動くな衛兵ども。王は俺の間合いの中だ。マジ。おいおい。
アシェラット。
やろう、攻めようは俺の。
動くなトルケル。アシェラットは尋常ではない。刺激するな。
剣を収めよう。さればこの比例は許す。
Oh, you're not gonna forgive.
許す？図に乗るな、蛮族めが。我が一族と我が民への愚弄、万死に値する。
最後の忠告だ。剣を収めよう。アシェラット。
そりゃあだ名だ。我が母より授かりし真の名を教えてやろう。
Ooh, he's gonna whip out the Arthur.
ルキウス・アルトリウス・カストゥス。よこそがこのブリタニアの地を滑るべき正当の王である。
Oh, and he fucking did it. He did it. The absolute madman. Regicide.
スカッとしたぜ。
All right, consequences of
さて。何をしたっておる。出会え。
出会え者ども。こやつは大殺しの大罪人だ。切り捨てよ。
Alright, how are we playing this? I mean, it's a good game for Canute, not gonna lie. Since Asalad is clearly a traitor right now. I didn't expect this. I thought he had a way out. He's like, this guy is mine. How is he getting himself killed now? He's got nothing to lose now. Is he gonna, like, are we gonna kill everybody in this room and then be like, fabricate a story?
こらえろトルケル。そなたの出番はまだだ。
どうでもいいよもうよ。血迷いやがって。俺は獲物を横取りされんのが一番綺麗なんだ。
あやつは血迷ってなどいない。あれは芝居だ。私とメルゼン、両者を救う選択を取ったに過ぎない。
Yep, no compromise.
大殺しの罪を一人で被るためだ。今少し暴れさせてやれ。とどめはそなたに任せる。
俺は知らねえ。
トルケル、
あいつはお前の手下だろうが、飼い犬の始末は飼い主がつけてやる。
Yeah.
どうした天神ども、焦らった。貴様、何をしたか分かっておるのか。王を殺したのだぞ。何を申すか。世はここに健在であろう。黙れ。
Loki is having a crash out.
ゲロ、それが王に対する口の利き方か。ひざまずけ。貴様には世の靴に口づけをする栄誉を与えてやる。そして死ね。
Oh, he's gonna distract him.
来るなタロイン。
Yeah. Okay.
人を刺したのは初めてか、王子よ。上出来だ。
I guess it was enough to pierce the heart.
おい、ハセラット。
おい、やれ。やったのか。殿下だ、殿下が。ちゃんと立ってろ。ここが肝心だろうが。
I guess the prince is still himself.
無駄にするなよ。
おいハゲ、何悠長に寝てやがんだてめえ。くそ、あ、くそったれ。面倒なとこ刺されやがってバカ野郎が。
たく、うるせえな。ちった休ませろや。
てめえ、さっさと立て。こっから逃げっぞ。
バカ、とっととやってくれよ。待たせて悪かったな。くれてやるよ、俺の命。
This is not how he wanted it. There's no satisfaction in that.
敵同士だろうが。
死ぬのか。
He's going to die without him ever knowing if he could have beaten him.
早くしろ。時間はねえぞ。
なめてんのかてめえ。こんなんじゃねえだろ。俺とてめえの決着はこんなんじゃねえ。許さねえぞ。勝手に死ぬんじゃねえ。立て、今すぐ俺と決闘しろ。てめえを倒す
The
な。
world doesn't work that way, Thorfinn.
ふざけんじゃ。
た
さっさと立て。
ガキはこれだから参るぜ。
決闘しろ。おい。
お前、どう生きるつもりだ。
I guess you're free now.
これから先、俺が死んでからその先、どう生きるつもりだ。
He hasn't. Not for 11 years.
何も考えてなかったんだろう。
うるせえ。
All of it
先へ進めよ。いつまでもこんな
gone in a moment.
クソくだらねえところに引っかかってねえで。ずっと先トールズの言った世界のその先。
He's speaking from experience.
それがお前の本当の戦いだ。本当の戦士になれ。トールズの子。
And now, time to feel empty.
トルフィン、許せとは言わぬぞ。この成敗は、そやつが突如乱心し、王陛下殺害という大罪を犯したためだ。だが、こうなってはもはや、私の下で働く気などあるまい。
Don't be so quick
望
to
むところへ
judge.
去るがいい。
Go where?
殺せ！こいつも逆賊だ！やめろ！そやつは殺すな！下がれ！そやつの処分は私が決める！
トルケル、もうよい。切られるくらい安い代償だ。
殿下、奥の間にてお怪我の手当てを。この場は私にお任せください。お連れしろ。
フローキ、戦王なき今、イングランド方面軍の総大将は誰と心得ておる？
いや、それは。
どうした？申してみよ。者ども、聞くがよい。戦王スヴェン陛下はお隠れになった。ただいまより全軍の指揮及びイングランド統治はこのクヌートが代行する。ウェールズ討伐は取りやめだ。戦王の死によりイングランド軍残党の放棄が予想される。まずはそれに備えねばならぬ。宝章授与の続きなどは追って沙汰する。以上、解散せよ。
I mean, yeah. I mean, this is his mode he's going back to, right? Yeah, I don't know how far we're into it, but Thorfinn's going back into his standard MO. Somebody killed a person I was really attached to, even if it was through hatred, right? Hatred and love. Not that far apart. They're very strong emotions. They're very strong attachments, even if one is very negative and one is very positive. And I don't think he had just hatred for Asalat. He was looking up to him in specific ways. And obviously Canute also robbed him of his closure, at least in Thorfinn's mind. And his MO is revenge. And that's what he did there. Beelined right for Canute's face. He was gonna lop his head off if Thorkel didn't stop him. But Canute saw it. He was like already going back because he knew he was coming for him. And now he's the authority, and he's like, I decide what to do with him, because he's like, I can kind of understand, right? And even though I think Canute doesn't understand, like one-to-one understand Thorfinn's feelings for Asalat, because they're very very complicated. They're very like meshed together, right? All of the bad, all of the good. Yeah. He at least can empathize to a degree. He's like, I can at least logically, I can understand why Thorfinn would be mad. I do think though that Thorfinn was also like reacted this way, like this is like undirected like rage and betrayal because of what Canute said. Canute was like, you're free to go. And Thorfinn's like, where do I go? You just took my entire purpose to live away from me. It's almost like Canute is abandoning him in the moment of his greatest weakness. Like, Canute thinks like, I'm giving you your freedom, you don't have to follow my orders. But for Thorfinn, it's like, shoo, go away. Very complicated. Can somebody take like a knife away from him, please? Okay, he drops it. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. Dude, it's been a big part of his life. And now the needle drops. And what's gonna open up now? Who are you? Maybe I don't remember him. Sorry if I didn't. Ooh. Is this our creation myth? Are these our characters that are gonna find each other eventually? Like foreshadowing? With characters we've met and characters we haven't met yet. It almost feels foreboding, in a way. Holy shit. This was not an ending. But yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Post credit? No. No post credit. Unfortunate. I thought we had like maybe another cheese or something on our hands. Alright. Alright. Boom. Throw it up on the screen. That is crazy. Like, that's a crazy development. We're doing so well on the facial expressions, but like Wit Studio is really good at that. And we're leading into this grand standoff, this like back and forth of like, hey, I'm pleading, I'm kind of being open and trying to find a way to let you accept that and find my angle. I need to play with that. I need to be given more verbally as well to understand what your game is. And obviously the king thinks, yeah, I'm gonna pressure him a little bit and then I'm gonna use him against Canute. But that's like incredibly greedy of him, right? It's like he's not even scheming his scheme. He's just going full pressure because I think I'm the king, right? What is he gonna do? Well, you'll see what he's gonna do. He was going off script from the beginning. I love it how Thorkel is like, oh, they're gonna fight, and then they talk and he's like, boring. But later on, right? He's like, oh, that's so great. Like, he's playing his schemes. He's like mocking him, and he thinks that this is how he gets, like, right? He thinks Asalat, like, he can't, like, he doesn't know who Asalat is, basically. He learned a couple of things about him, but he doesn't know who he is. This scene, like, we had that, right? Like, Thorfinn saw that. I don't know what that means. I think maybe it's like the bird escaping. So he's like, Asalat's getting away right now, right? That's like a feeling deep inside of him a little bit. But Leif kicked something loose. Leif kicked something loose that is, through the new events, now gonna roll. But poor Leif, man, he was looking for Thorfinn for so fucking long. He finally found him. He's like, oh, I'm gonna bring you back. Your mother and your sister, they will be so happy. And he's like, oh, like, come on, we're gonna go on our adventure. He turns around, he's gone. He's like, damn, I lost him again. And now Asalat is going for it. I was like, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna escalate? Is he gonna like find a way to angle this? No. He realizes this is the end of the line. If he betrays Canute for Wales, he's gonna probably be cut down and he's gonna have betrayed Canute, who he thought was probably gonna be somebody who might make, well, like, who might be a big leader and might make a better world, right? Who might turn the Danish Empire into something better. If he gives up Wales for Canute, he's betraying his own people for the people he technically despises. Even if Canute is maybe not the main part of that. So he's like, no, I saw something in Canute and I believe he can be something good for the world, right? I can't betray him, but I can also not betray Wales. So what do? I betray myself. I'm gonna play the villain. I'm gonna die a martyr. Well, maybe I'm not gonna die. Like, there's a 2% chance I'm not gonna die, but 98% I'm gonna die. And Canute will be able to capitalize on that with the lessons I taught him. That is insane, right? I mean, what he saw in Canute, I think, is that Canute isn't this cruel bitch, right? That Canute has these dreams. He's like creating that, a better world for people. But that he's like, he brought Canute to the point that Canute is able to accept and make tough decisions and be hard in the moment and play a game, scheme. Maybe not as good as Asalat. And now Canute has lost his major advisor, which sucks ass. But he's got Thorkel, who's super strong. He's got Thorfinn, potentially, who's really nimble and can do a lot of spy stuff, can do a lot of, like, assassination stuff. He's got his right and left hand men. It's going to be a great loss, but I think Asalat believed that he could carry on and make his thing happen. So he provokes the king. One last time, he says exactly what he thinks. And the king, instead of being all hard ass, he's suddenly unsettled. He's like, what's happening? Nobody ever talks to me like this. They know what the consequences are. He's like, dude, like, wait. Can we pretend this didn't happen? Then I'm gonna let you off the hook. He's probably not gonna let him off the hook, but he's like, dude, like, go back. You want out? I give you an out. But no, Asla is like, I'm full in. I'm all in. He's like, I'm threatening your king right now. And Canute sees that and he's like, okay, I know what he's playing at. Shit. And now he's playing the madman, the arrogant one, the betrayer, right? Declaring him king in front of everybody. And Loki's like, go in, right? Take him. And he's like, too late. I got it. Not even like the throne horn with the wine did distract him. He's like, boom, instincts. Focus on the king. Lop his head off. That's it. One action. And he actually did it. And you can't take that back, right? It's like, even if Asalat dies here 2 seconds later, it's done. And now he holds on. Now he holds on because he knows, okay, I didn't die yet. I'm gonna fight these bitches and hopefully Thorkel or Canute are gonna kill me and they're gonna capitalize on that. I was like, for a moment, I was thinking maybe they kill everybody in this room and then they're like, there was a giant massacre. King Swain was like, whatever, right? They spin some story. But no. He's just gonna go down like an absolute madman. Like the absolute madman that he was throughout his entire life. Thorkel actually thinking he got mad. He's like, no, he's just playing. He's giving us a chance. And Thorkel has the right idea. He's like, he's your vassal. You take him out. These panels are insane. Right? The way he stabs and all the bodies are around him. Going neck to neck with Loki and actually just being better than him. Like that's just like, that's not even funny. That's like just a skill diff. Look at this face. Like I understand Loki being terrified. But yeah. Canute took the shot. Also that's like GG's. And we die. Not without a big speech, which I think is very interesting because all of these people who surrounded him, they were like, traitor and whatever. I would think that they would storm and like find a way to like detain everyone, but like everybody's kind of confused what's happening and the king is dead, so they're like, what the fuck? What do we do now? So they have this moment. I don't know if that would have happened in reality, in an actual reality, but it's nice. We do have this moment because it's important character work for Thorfinn. And I said this throughout the episode. It's like, fuck you, dude. What do I do when you're gone? This is what I hate about kids. How do you plan on living your life? I mean, it's your fault, Asalite. You kept him being a kid for so long. Right? You fueled his rage and anger. You made him focus on you because you knew you could turn him to your purpose. And this is what led you here. Now he's got to figure out himself what he wants to do. After you're dead. You never thought about that. And this is like the most horrific idea for him. And I think like the bird earlier, like Asalat getting away, but also maybe a glimpse of freedom. And I think freedom terrifies Thorfinn. Because he has no idea what to do with it. He doesn't have motivation, he doesn't have purpose. Besides the things he had. I mean, he has, right? Deep inside. And we talked about that. That's why Leif's speech almost reached him. Because deep inside, buried in his memories, in his childhood memories, there is this idea, right? These old words, this like mythos inside his head, inside his like conception of Vinland, of exploring, of freedom, of, right? Maybe even peace through his like adverse experiences. Like, damn, if people didn't have to feel that, go through that, that would be great. But it's all buried in the trauma, right? And the trauma is being pushed away and disassociated from the person. It's just deep down there. It's like sunken. It's not accessible. And Asalot is giving him a purpose, a potential purpose. He's like, this is your battle, right? You're the son of Thor's. So venture beyond the world we saw, right? And he's bridging the connection to 11 years ago, Thorfinn. And I'm gonna glance past that, right? We had that already. We'll do that in a second. But yeah, I wanna finish up this train of thought and then go to Canute for a second. But this is it, right? The knife drop. They did that so well, right? The knife in the time, like in the time lapse or the slow-mo, and we see the time lapse shining through the blade of the knife. His childhood, his father, Leif, his mother, his sister, Loki's arriving, the woman he betrayed, right? Where he was so human, where he was so different than in any other episode. Acting so different too, much more like a child. The moment on the hill with Asalot, meeting with Canute, and then thinking back, his father and him as a child. And he's seeing his self-image here, and now the shoe drops. Boom. And we have this weird zoom out, and I think I can only imagine this is like the foreshadowing. It's like, I don't think we've seen this character before, so it's like season 2 character teased. Season 2 character teased. I don't know if we know her. We might know her, right? But like it might be, I don't think so, but it might be like the character from earlier on, which was like stealing things and like getting excited by all like the cruel deeds of Asalot's band. I don't know if it's her. And then we have a third character. Maybe it's like, yeah, right? We're teasing this guy. And it feels like the way the music is swelling, and we go to different parts of the world, and it feels like they're all converging in the timeline towards a point where they meet up, and then they form what is possibly like a big part of the future story of Vinland Saga, or maybe more like the ending story of Vinland Saga. I don't know if they're like gonna have parallel storylines throughout season 2 and then maybe even season 3, and at the end they meet, or if it's more of a throughout season 2 we get to know these characters, and then we kind of slowly we have a point where they all meet up or get to know each other, and then from then on they're actually gonna like be very deeply interwoven with one another, or maybe even like be a party or a band and move on, right? We'll have to see about that. But yeah, this is his moment, because like now he's free and he has to actually think about, what do I want in my life? What, like, right? And this can make you really depressed in the beginning, right? This big vast emptiness, it can hurt, right? There is there's an actual feeling described in psychology and therapy, feelings of emptiness. Emptiness is a feeling, and it hurts, and it's very, very, how do you describe that? It feels hollow, right? It feels something scraping on the inside of you, and is slowly hollowing you out. It's not very nice, right? It's a very, it's like hunger, but there's nothing there. Very interesting going forward what Thorfinn's gonna do. I do assume he's probably gonna stick around Canute a little bit. And we're gonna have this, like, because Canute is an important character that we will probably follow throughout, and who knows, maybe he and Thorfinn will actually get closer. We don't know that. Canute could teach Thorfinn a thing or two about, like, being empathetic with other people and it's like being more in touch with your emotions a little bit. I'm sure Thorfinn could teach him a thing or two as well, especially fighting. But yeah, this moment, Canute taking the chance, right? Yeah, I'm going backwards. Canute taking the chance to take control, to take reign. And he knows what to do. He's like, Loki, who do you think is in charge? And Loki's like, this bastard. But he kind of has to follow suit, I guess. As of today, I'm the king. We must prepare for the uprising of England because they're going to be emboldened. It's not my fault, right? He doesn't have any blame in it. Which is incredibly good for his position. But there's going to be conflict with his brother, we know that. This is going to be the big battle now. And how is his brother going to be? His brother is probably more like Sweyn in terms of character. So he's going to be the real enemy for Canute. I would reckon. Yeah. Blessings and curses, blessings and curses. All right. What did I think about this? The season, the series in general, so far. Honestly, absolute cinema. No, seriously, like, it's a great series. It's a great series, right? You have your battles, you have your tactics, you have your scheming, right? But you also, like, unlike stuff like, I think, like, when I heard first of Vinland Saga, it got compared a lot to Berserk. And I see the parallels, right? There's a lot of cruelty in there. There's a lot of, like, harsh realities, a lot of, like, fights and trauma and suffering. But I would compare it almost more to something like a Game of Thrones. And maybe it's a little bit trite to compare it. But you do have your scheming. You do have your fighting and your great action pieces. You do have your emotional components and personal character stories that are very well done. Especially with, like, Asalot and his end here. It's like, I mean, his story is an unfinished one, but that makes perfect sense for what kind of character Asalot is. It makes perfect sense that his story would remain unfinished. And it is drawing this parallel where he's like, you go out there, Thorfinn, you do your thing, that's your actual quest. Because he's like, dude, don't get dragged up into this one, like, thing. And because he's like, I was like that. And you see where it got me. Right? And I think long before this whole event now happened, Asalot considered himself already lost, kind of. Right? And was just trying to drag himself along. And like the OP says, and we can now probably very much confirm that this is an Asalot OP. I'm the one who makes my final call. And he got that. But I can't help but feel that he felt a little bit of dissatisfaction that it had to end here, because he knew there might have been a possibility that it could go further. And his only hope, I think, is that Canute actually fulfills his potential. But yeah, there's so much in there. There's emotion, there's trauma, there's like processing, and not in the way of just pain, pain, pain. There's pain, there's joy, there's sadness, there's connection, there's relationship, there's metaphors, there's like questions about the nature of man and humanity. There's a lot in there. And I like shows like that. I love shows like that. That's why I love Monster. That's why I love shows like Frieren. That's why I love shows like Monogatari, even, because in its own like comedic, like very Japanese way, it still finds a way to ask these questions in its own very, very unique style. But I think, yeah, Vinland is gonna be one of the greats if they don't mess up the later seasons. For me personally. And I think like maybe I think I might like Vinland Saga more than Attack on Titan. I'm just bridging that gap or making that comparison because it's both started with Wit Studios and both potentially end with MAPPA. So there's this parallel, even though it might not have that many parallels in terms of like the story, but it still has like some themes that are very overlapping. And questions that they both raise, kind of, right? We have that whole thematic about Astolat seeing that everybody's kind of a slave to something, and we have the same thing with mild spoilers, a character named Kenny in Attack on Titan. But I think so far, I don't know where it's gonna go, but so far I like it more than Attack on Titan, just personally, right? It's not like I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying like I like it more. Yeah, can't wait for the next season. I'm gonna jump in whenever I actually have the free time to do so. So keep an eye out for that. And thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. I've seen a couple of comments on like earlier parts of the show as well, which I really appreciate because I think it's really, really indicative of the fact that YouTube isn't gonna throw this on your doorstep constantly, and you might find this in a year or two, and we can still talk about shit, and I can still read a comment and be like, oh wait, what is that comment referencing again? Let me recheck what that part of the story was, and then I can like be like, oh, that's really cool, right? Like maybe a thing that I didn't know, or maybe like in perspective that I've never had. But it's really cool that everybody kind of has their own little things that they take from stories like these. And we can like put that out in a, like as a comment and start a discussion or start somebody else thinking about it in their free time. These are the kinds of stories that I like the most because they get you thinking about life and about yourself and about all kinds of connections. And that is something I love spending my time with. So I do hope that you're gonna be there for season 2 of Vinland Saga when I react to it. Like I said, very, very soon. So keep an eye on that. And I'm wishing you all a very good time until then.